The David in Richmond, Virginia. Thanks for calling the Line of Fire.
Yeah, Dr. Brown. I've been listening to you for a pretty good while now, and I think your tone is wrong about this Republican-Democrat thing. The Republicans, when Trump got elected, the deplorables, really, who elected him, were ecstatic that he got elected. And they were aware that he slipped in under the radar because the Democrats didn't think he had a prayer. The Democrats exploded with rage and vitriol, but it wasn't met with the same rage and vitriol on part of the deplorables. It wasn't. They didn't act like that. And I think you're just too even-handed about this. You imply that this is that the progressives and the conservatives are equally at fault. I don't agree. I think the Democrats are wicked and satanic, and anybody with a grain of sense can see that.
So let me ask you a question. You know how I voted, correctly?
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. And you know that I have drawn attention to, for example, every Democrat in the Senate voting against Amy Coney Barrett. You're aware of that. I've drawn attention.
I'm not aware of that, but I'm speaking to Dr. Brown in terms of your tone. I think you cut those people way too much slack. I listened to you yesterday, and someone called in, and an African-American woman who's an evangelical, and again, it was the tone of it. It was as if you were saying to her, yeah, it's okay to vote Democrat. You know, I don't hold it against you.
Right.
It seems to me that anybody who could vote for a Democrat in this political, social environment if you're a Christian, it's nuts. How could you possibly do that?
All right. So here's my question for you, David, and I appreciate this dialogue. I have written very plainly and spoken very plainly about why I cannot, under any circumstance, support voting for a pro-abortion candidate. That I'd rather sit out an election if I didn't have another alternative. But under no circumstances do I see how someone can do that. However, I won't judge their salvation over that. So, I mean, I've been very plain about that for years and years and years. Endless articles.
I agree. I agree with that, Dr. Brown.
Right. Okay.
I'm not talking about salvation. I'm just talking about judgment.
Right. But do you think that the Christians that did vote Democrat, who say, look, Reagan didn't change abortion, George H.W. Bush didn't change abortion, George W. Bush didn't change abortion, Donald Trump didn't change abortion. In other words, it's still here, and Roe v. Wade still stands.
All right, I got to answer for that.
So hang on, let me just finish. And they say, look, I'm looking at the justice system that mistreats certain minorities. I'm looking at our education system, and I get much better help from my family, from my school, from Democrats than Republicans. So I hate abortion, I hate same-sex marriage, but I'm not voting for those issues. I'm voting for the others. Are you going to say that those people, I should despise them or mock their faith?
No. I don't say you despise them.
Okay.
But I think you could see that they're using poor judgment. School system is horrible no matter how much money you throw into it. Government schooling is terrible, and everybody knows it. And as far as these minorities who claim that they should get such a bad deal from the police, they don't. You ought to read Heather McDonald or somebody like that talks about how the police are maligned.
Yeah, I've had her on my show. I've had her on my show to talk war on cops. But you should also know that serious studies, meta-analyses, so looking at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of studies, have analyzed things and have demonstrated that for the same crimes committed with the same background, generally speaking, a black person will serve more time than a white person. Now,
wait a minute.
Well, David.
If Black Lives Matter really cared about blacks,
David, wait. Do you realize you're deflecting? Do you realize the degree to which you're deflecting? I'm trying to honor you with a serious conversation here about serious issues, sharing many of your perspectives. Okay, but you're coming up with these gut level deflections. What you just told me was the those that vote Democratic and think it's going to help the school system. It's not going to do any good because the school systems are messed up. All right. Well, they're saying no matter who I vote for abortion, it doesn't do any good. It doesn't make a difference. We have to change people's hearts. All I'm saying is I'm going to honor my brothers and sisters in the midst of having the dialogue. And you're saying I'm too even-handed about it. So I'm just trying to understand how to approach this. I have openly spoken out against the BLM movement. I've drawn attention to its Marxist base. I've drawn attention to its witchcraft involvement and its queer theology or ideology and all of this. At the same time, I recognize that there are excellent, important issues that my black brothers and sisters raised to me that I want to address. So you tell me the best way to do it.
Wait a minute. You have the Democrats who are clearly wicked. I think it's very clear. So how can you vote for people like that? How can you vote for somebody like Biden, who had a couple of same-sex marriages in his office or something of that nature? I mean, how could you support these people?
Well, Trump said that he has no problem with Pete Buttigieg being married. Trump appoints as an ambassador, first person ever on the cabinet, gay cabinet member Richard Grinnell. That's a Trump appointee.
Wait a minute.
Trump has opposed criminalizing homosexuality worldwide, and he said that Caitlyn Jenner, is welcome to use the ladies' room at Trump Tower. So how could you vote for a man like that?
Wait a minute. It's more. It's not only more subtle. It's deeper. It's like in that election with Trump. That was a cry of the heart from people who considered to be deplorables. We got to do something about this. And then we got Trump, a weak read in many respects. I'll agree, but he's the best you got. And so you're going to vote for.
Well, we had that. Well, that's why I voted. That's why. Of course not.
All right. Okay.
Never in a million years would I vote for Biden in these circumstances, or for potential Kamala Harris.
All right, listen. Hey, I appreciate you taking my call.
Okay, can I ask you one more? Can I ask you one more question, David?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Just to understand this, I opposed Trump in the primaries when we had other choices. When he became the candidate, I supported him. I voted for him in 2016. I voted for him in 2020. I've been on endless media, TV, radio, whatever, explaining why, as a follower of Jesus, I could vote for Trump. But would you agree that the Bible says God hates a lying tongue? Would you agree with that?
God hates any kind of a sin.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Fine.
But no, that's high on the list. In other words, there's 7 things that God hates. One, shedding of innocent blood is one. Lying tongue is one of the things he really hates.
All right.
Well, Donald Trump has a lying tongue. I know Christians that couldn't vote for him, so they didn't vote for Biden. They sat out the election, or they voted for a third-party candidate because they said he has a lying tongue. How can I support it? Can you respect that, or did they miss it?
Yeah, I can kind of respect. I can kind of respect it, but I think it's so. I think it's so. It has a nice nicety and exactness to it that's beside the point right now. You can say, well, Trump's had a couple of divorces, right? Well, you can come back and say, well, he hadn't had one in the last 4 years. You know what I mean? I mean, a lying tongue. I mean, Trump may be boorish and verbose and exaggerating and all this sort of thing, but that doesn't cut to the core of who you want to have running the United States for the next 4 years.
Right. So, given the choice, So, David,
it's a big choice.
Given the choice between the two, I voted Donald Trump. As I said on the Mike Huckabee show, to me, it's Trump versus mobocracy, Trump versus socialism, Trump versus the cancel culture. So, I got my vote. At the same time, I know he's done a lot of damage, done a lot of good, done a lot of bad, done more for evangelical causes than any president in memory, and done more to hurt the evangelical cause than any president in memory. So, hey, we have an honest discussion. But David, thank you for calling and sharing your heart. That's why we have Live Talk Radio.